You have to take it as a huge advantage. It will be over soon, and within a limited time, with more intensity and concentration, you will be able to prepare for it and exhibit the personality, which is what the really UPSC is out to assess you. So it is not like you're appearing for before the HR of some multinational company or even a PSU. Please make your introduction very brief and to the point. You have to connect with 5 people psychologically, kinesically at the same time. To every question, the person who has asked expects a brief and to the point answer, usually not exceeding 10 to 15 seconds. And there is no second chance to make a good first impression. You have to make that good first impression. It's not a crime to have an opinion, but you should be able to explain that opinion, justify that opinion in front of the member. Every word in your DAF can be a trigger to 4 or 5 questions. What is often mistaken for current affairs is the font size of the headlines. Please don't ever be fooled by that. Dear friends, aspirants for the civil services exam of this year 25-26, this is to tell you that the UPSC has this year advanced and compressed the dates for the interview, the final stage of your selection process for the civil services. First thing I would like to tell you is that it can be taken as a disadvantage, but certainly as an advantage for people who are preparing themselves with a good positive frame of mind. The disadvantage is only that it's a slight upsetting of your assumed structure or assumed schedule for preparation. If you have been planning your holidays that it's going to be a long drawn out process, April end or May, then it is certainly a bit of upsetting your schedule. But the real thing is you have to take it as a huge advantage. It will be over soon, and within a limited time, with more intensity and concentration, you will be able to prepare for it and exhibit the personality, which is what the really UPSC is out to assess you. The first thing I would like to remind you is that this is not a test of your knowledge. It is not going to be 20 questions or 50 questions in which you are being asked repeatedly the currency of this place or the capital of that country. It is a test of your personality. Your knowledge has already been tested. If you have reached this stage, it is after a certain very grueling process, and you should be proud of it. In this particular portion called the interview, the format is very different. You are used to, in the written exam, to either in the objective type exercise your mind and take one option. In the written type, you are supposed to write in a certain set of words, whether it's 50 or 200, or in long essay type. You are to bring out your thinking process in a certain orderly manner, arriving at a punchline. Right? That is how we do, for example, in mathematics or physics. Starting with a lemma or starting with an assumption, you deduce and then you give your conclusion at the end of it, QED. When you are asked a certain question, you are to bring out, you have to focus on the question first. You are to bring out all that which you have ever learned about the subject matter of the question. Take out those 3-4 sentences which best address the question and put them in the order of their importance. The most important has to come first. So in a way, the conclusion has to come first, and then probably the things of lesser importance, the 2-3 points of lesser importance. This mindset you have to prepare with, completely different from the manner in which you prepared for the mains exams. 1. 2. What the interview board has 4 to 5 people, elderly, and the setting is informal. So it is not like you are appearing for before the HR of some multinational company or even a PSU. You are appearing before a set of people who are out to judge your personality depending on your mannerisms, your body language, your kinesics, how you interact with them on any chosen topic. Now, how do they choose the topic? Please understand. The first thing anybody asks you is, please introduce yourself. It is not supposed to be a war and peace kind of a narrative. Please make your introduction very brief and to the point. The purpose of asking you for your introduction is, every DAF already gives your introduction. So it's not that they are lacking in knowledge about you. They are in fact putting you at ease when they ask you, please give me your introduction. It's so that you break the ice and you start flowing a bit. You feel comfortable about in talking about yourself, and that's how you become a little, how should I say, you warm up to the strange room and people you have never met before. This 20 seconds of your introduction should not be a long narrative. It should certainly be well prepared. Please do not make it a bookish thing. Please do not make it a far too rehearsed introduction. Just make it very natural and to the point. And never forget to smile. The first thing you should do is, when you enter the room, invariably address the lady, whether she is the chairperson or a member. You should invariably address the lady first, then look at the chairperson. Good morning or good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon, sirs, and sit down. Right? Sit down as in once they permit you to sit down. Do not just assume. Sit down and look genially and smilingly at every face. You have to connect with 5 people psychologically, kinesically at the same time. Invariably, the chairperson will begin by asking you about your introduction. The mental picture you should always keep is that there are 5 slightly elder members of your own family, and you're sitting in a drawing room or around your dining table. Informally, without becoming cheeky, you have to address all of them at the same time. Somebody asks you a question, but you have to address the entire board. So you have to explain it to all the people. Do it with a good fluctuation of voice, with using your hands to gesticulate, using your eyes to express, using your facial expression. All this should be part of one unified and one integrated expression, right? If you keep too stiff or you keep looking at one person, your eyes and your hands and your body and your voice are saying something else. Your words are saying something else. That's not how things are in a normal conversation. So you are to address in that very congenial setting. Now, that is how you should tune your behavior. Right now, please begin by sitting before a mirror and practicing your voice modulation and facial expressions, and certainly you should ask your family members or your friends to sit in that kind of a setting and keep giving you informal, they can keep shooting questions at you, and you should keep answering. The second thing I would like to emphasize is that to every question, the person who has asked expects a brief and to the point answer, usually not exceeding 10 to 15 seconds. If you are taking a long time coming to the point, then you have already lost the attention of that person, and there is no second chance to make a good first impression. You have to make that good first impression. At times, these are thought-based questions. You think of what is the best possible answer, put it in the right priority sequence, as I explained a little earlier, and no more than 3-4 sentences in a very nice informal manner. The moment the person feels enthused with the answer, the person can always ask a follow-up question. So you do not have to go on and on explaining about this is how this happened, that is how. Just keep it as brief and pointed as possible. Now, the board members have your DAF and they have probably a few set of preconceived questions, and they have the newspapers before them or what has happened in the recent past, right? Broadly, these are the things on which they ask questions. Please understand, if you do not know an answer, absolutely 0 marks deducted means it's absolutely to no disadvantage if you simply say, sorry sir, I do not know this part, or sir, I think I need to study more about this issue, or I had read about this but offhand I do not recall. Absolutely no problem, but do it with a composure, do it with a nice smile and in an effortless manner. You are not supposed to be an encyclopedia, none of us are. And there are any number of examples of people who have simply said, sorry sir, I do not know this answer, or I cannot readily recall this particular issue, or I had read about it and forgot. Sorry, I need to read up more about it. And they are in the IAS or IFS or IPS. Not an issue at all. The purpose of asking you a question is to give you a topic in which you feel comfortable, of which you have read something about, so that the member and you have a common ground of a discussion. That is all. If the common ground does not exist, meaning that if you do not know the answer to a question, the member will gladly go to another question which will provide you with hopefully another ground on which you can discuss. The point is that you have to be brought on some common ground in which a discussion can happen, and the member can judge you by the manner in which you crisp down your answer. The member can judge you by how you sequence logically the various arguments or the pieces of knowledge you have about that subject relating to the question, or how quickly and how sequentially, how much poise you can answer that particular issue. If it is something which is, of course, there can be controversial questions, there can be controversial issues on which questions can be framed. You have to, of course, keep, it's not a crime to have an opinion, but you should be able to explain that opinion, justify that opinion in front of the member. You are wise enough to understand that extremes of any opinion are generally not expected of a civil servant, because you can only develop an extreme opinion if, say, you are a student or you are a person who has not appreciated all sides to that particular issue. A person who has studied the pros and cons, the difficulties and the advantages, and the long term and the short term gains and losses, only will be able to give a good befitting answer to any issue facing the country or our society today. So the moment you are able to address a controversial issue, you should be careful about saying, or at least conveying to the member, that through your body language, through your words, that there are various parts to this particular issue. While we have this, on the other hand, we have this point of view also. You should be able to convey to the interview board that you are appreciative, you are able to assess the fact that this is a complicated issue, and that you have studied all sorts of things about it, or various viewpoints, and you are able to synthesize. Now, as for your DAF, please understand your DAF is your introduction. Everything about your DAF I could be picking up and asking you. Usually you write a citizen of India. From that I could start citizen. All right, what does citizen mean? Citizenship Act, this, that, what are the various issues, which act defines citizen, anything. India, the origin of India, anything. Every word in your DAF can be a trigger to 4-5 questions. And therefore, even if you write Gmail, for example, where does Gmail originate, उससे पहले क्या था, what were the kinds of open platform email addresses, anything. Your address, your hometown, your PIN code, your mobile number, anything could be the subject matter of a question. Please underline every possible word which you should reasonably expect a series of questions. That your DAF is equivalent to about 10 questions. A lot of candidates often go on and on about their hobbies and extracurricular activities, etc. Well, you are welcome to your opinions. I will not say anything. But the longer you are addressing, you are putting or particularizing some hobby or extracurricular activity or interest, at times you are also conveying that you expect the interview board to be impressed by a long list of hobbies. That is not so. That is not so. Clearly not so. So unless, if you are doing Zumba dancing as a hobby, you better be very well prepared about what Zumba dance is. It doesn't bode well for you if you have only danced 10 times in your life. You might like it much, but there could be 10 questions on Zumba dancing itself. So at that time it becomes a trap for you if you have written some particular hobby and you cannot follow it up with follow up the questions with adequate knowledge or adequate discussion. That's all I wanted to say really, that if you are writing anything in your DAF, be very well prepared for several questions. It's how you answer those questions which will decide your performance at the interview board. What you write over there in your DAF is not going to impress the board at all, right? Now coming to the interviews, to the newspapers and current affairs, international affairs, etc. If you have reached this stage, it is expected that you have a fair amount of consciousness about your surroundings, what has been happening in the country and abroad, at global level, at national level, at state and even at city or town level, and what is the underlying connectivity. It's about you being able to connect the dots. If something happens at China-India border, does it affect the Chinese goods being sold in India? Clearly, of course they do. If India and China have some bilateral differences at some point, does it affect, or how does it affect India and China going to a forum like SC or BRICS or shaking hands and so on? How does it preclude or exclude a person who is not friendly with India sitting with India in some forum and smiling at each other and sharing a cup of tea? So these things are not mutually exclusive. International relations are a massive exercise in human psychology. So therefore, please never commit the mistake of thinking this person is my friend, that person is not my friend. These are extremely transactional relationships. You are, this particular country is my friend for the duration of this meeting for these topics, because my only friend is my own country, and therefore it is reasonable to expect that the other country's only friend is that fellow's own country, right? You should respect that. On other issues, your interests may not coincide. In fact, they may collide head on. At that point, in that particular forum or in that relationship, you are not friends. Somebody else is your friend. So when you answer questions on international affairs, please have that equanimity and balance in mind. As for national issues, extremely, as we call it, shifting sands. All the time things are changing. Like political parties coming together, going away, having alliances, breaking up alliances, perfectly all right. Do not be judgmental about it. This is a massive democracy, the world's largest we live in. Therefore, all sorts of views exist and should be welcome to each other. Our coexistence is about harmonizing them, not in conflict. And the better you appreciate it, the better you are able to explain any question in terms of this, is going to be a mantra for success for you. All right. Please study. I don't recommend any number of newspapers. If you have read one newspaper, a good newspaper, properly, and emphasis is on the word properly, you have cracked it. You see, what is often mistaken for current affairs is the font size of the headlines. Please don't ever be fooled by that. The biggest font size is kept for the most sensational news of the day. What you should practice is going into the editorial and seeing what is the news of significance. For you, news of significance are never more than 10 news items in any newspaper. So develop the habit of picking up a newspaper, taking a red pencil or whichever color you like, and every day circling 10 news items. You will find very soon that things which don't continue for about which mention is irrelevant after 2 days. It's not news for you. For you as a candidate, it's not news. What is news is something of enduring relevance and therefore interest to you. Of such pieces of news, please read the editorial invariably, and in the centerpiece you will find 4 or 5 articles. In some of them there is that thing is explained in bigger in bigger terms on page 9 or something, or so on. So please go through those, and the news item is not important as the analysis thereof. Please be very well prepared with the analysis of such news items. Now with that, number 1, your own DAF. Number 2, the current affairs. If you read magazines, wonderful. Every magazine, whether it is, well, to take a few names, India Today or Outlook and so many others, no more than 3 articles or max 4 articles are actually of significance to you. The rest are fine. They need to be conveyed to the public. That's why they are there. But as to a UPSC candidate, focus on the ones which are important, not the ones which are urgent. What is urgent today? Something else more urgent will take its place. What is important continues to be important. That is what you have to study, and be prepared with the analysis. And above all, again to reiterate, how you convey, how you put yourself across, with how much ease, with what kind of kinesics, facial expressions or voice modulation you are able to convey that you're not a robot, nothing like this. You're not a robot. You are a thinking, feeling, expressing person, and the more from the heart your answer is, the better you score. Do not talk unnecessarily fast. Give pauses. Take the permission of the chair or whichever member to think about certain, for if you need to gather your thoughts, by all means say, sir, may I take a few seconds to do this. Also, you may have written English as your medium of interview. Absolutely no marks deducted if you say, sir, I am not able to express this in English very well, may I use a Hindi expression instead. Perfectly all right. As I said, please understand the purpose of this interview to put you at comfort, to get the best impression of you, to see what kind of a personality you are. Now personality is language agnostic, all right. If you are not able to express yourself as well in English, might as well go in Hindi or Telugu or Assamese. Not an issue for the duration of that particular answer, if you are able to express it better in some other language. That is all I have to say at this juncture. All the very best. Work hard. There is no substitute to hard work. Thank you. All the best.